The Rocket Review is sponsored by Why Not Saloon.
We're so thrilled to have in the president and CEO of CF Martin Guitars, but also he's more than that. He's also a musician and an artist. I've got Thomas Ripsam. Thomas, thanks for coming on the show.
Eric, thanks for having me.
You know, I can't believe this, Thomas, but you and I first met 3 years ago when you assumed being the president of Martin.
Yes.
And you've seen a lot
Time flies.
You've seen a lot of changes and a lot of great things with the company.
Yes. Yeah, time flies. It's amazing that it's already been 3 years, but it's been a great time so far. And as you say, we're very busy, hopefully all busy in a good way. But it's great fun, but it's also a lot of hard work.
Well, and I'll tell you what, you and I were talking about the NAMM shows, and certainly with you being in Nashville and how popular the Martin guitars are, and you also brought the CEO 10, which I was able to play when it first released last year, and this is the prototype, before the production even started.
That's right.
And this is where you, as the president and CEO, get to impart what you would like to do on a Martin guitar, and only 100 are built.
That's correct. So the CEO series was really something that was created by Chris, because Chris Martin, he wanted to experiment with guitars. So he used different materials on different models, different types of inlays, like curly mango guitar with curly mango backsides or hexagon inlays.
Right.
And so at some point after I joined, he said, Thomas, I think that series is quite valuable, and we did some good guitars, but you're the CEO now. Why don't you have a go at it?
And I tell you what, you've had a heck of a go at it. And I got to brag on you also, Thomas, because you won't. But you studied, being a luthier back in 2019 before you even became part of the Martin guitar family. So you have a knowledge of this, and so that had to play a part when you were designing your CEO model.
I'm not a luthier, just to be very clear, but I have a lot and had a lot of interest in guitar building for a long time, and I wanted to experience it myself, what's involved, and it was on one model with a luthier, building my own guitar, and I think that gave me a lot of appreciation, what's really involved, how much can go wrong. I made a lot of mistakes. And last year Martin built around over 130,000 instruments. Wow. I built one and did a bad job at it before I joined Martin. So I do think it gave me a real appreciation what's involved, especially when people still touch every part of the process, which our people do at Martin.
Right.
So I think it was a very good experience for me before joining Martin.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I think that's what you bring, and you and I were talking earlier before we came down to the studio, Thomas, to where it's such a team effort. And I know every time that I'm around, all of the team members from Martin, how invested they are in the guitars and everything they do, even with the ones that you have built in Mexico, but especially, they're still all designed here in the U.S.
Yes.
And with the museum and the factory and everything in Nazareth.
Absolutely. A few years ago, after I joined, we actually did some work on our brand. And what is our brand all about? What do we stand for?
Right.
And we also talked to a lot of our own people that work at Martin, and what excites them, what are they passionate about. And I think the thing that came out was a lot of the people at Martin, they are all about unleashing their own creativity, bringing their artistry into what we do. And we have a lot of artists, some on the woodworking side, but painters and people that work with fabrics. It's this passion for what we do, which is unleashing creativity, which ultimately led to our rebranding effort, which was all about unleashing your inner artist, right? So whether you're a player, whether you are a collector, whether you're a beginner, it doesn't really matter. As if you're interested in bringing your creativity out,
right,
we think we have something for you.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that I appreciate about Martin, and certainly CF Martin Company, but is that not only, and you and I are players and collectors and everything of guitars, but that you guys really strive not only in the area of sustainable woods and things like that, but also for every level of player, to where I think that's what you know, you and your teams have done a great job of, to where you've got, you know, these X series instruments, all these things, to where it's like, if you can't afford the CEO one yet, or a D18 like I need right now, then here are some other options.
Absolutely.
You know, to become part of the Martin family.
Absolutely. I mentioned kind of how many guitars we made last year, but we also make a lot of very different guitars. So we cover a wide spectrum, and also from a price point, I mean, our least expensive guitars start maybe around $400 and ukes, and then it goes up to infinity, literally. And so that's a wide space to cover, and you know, ultimately, it's almost like a palette, right? If you're a painter, or if you're a collector, if you like guitars, there's opportunity for different guitars that give you different things, and we love variety. We like to offer different things because we think ultimately you have a better chance to find something that really meets kind of your needs and what you're looking for.
Well, and I think also, Thomas, you know, bringing in young people into the fold, because certainly, you know, both of us, you know, have played for a number of years, and I know it centers me.
Yep.
And I think for so many young people, whether they're, you know, coming in, you know, with the ukuleles or with the guitars or whatever, it's great. And you guys are also very big, you know, with Chris Martin doing his road show.
Totally.
You know, I was at the one last year at the Frist, packed house, standing room only, but educating people, because next year will be 192 years
That's right.
of Martin guitars, and you're at the helm.
Yes, working on the next 190 years with the team and Chris and the board. No, but so last year we celebrated 190 years as Martin Guitars, and we had this beautiful celebration in Lower Manhattan, 196 Hudson Street, because that's where the original founders set up their first store. And it was just beautiful to go there and celebrate 190 years. It's a long time, you know, but we are here now, and I'm here now, and I'm just so excited and honored and humbled that I can do a little bit of my part to literally think about the future of this wonderful company, and that's what I'm focused on.
And I think, you know, and we were talking earlier about artists and everything too, to where you yourself are also a painter, besides being a musician. And, you know, Seeds of Imagination is your side music project, and you did the cover for your own album.
Yes, yeah. So I've always loved the arts. I love painting with real mediums, you know, like oils or acrylics, but also digitally. The cover of the Seeds of Imagination Liechtenstein album was done digitally.
Great cover.
Yeah, so that's what excites me, and I do think there are a lot of crossovers between painting and playing, and I love to create music too. So, yeah, and you know, for me, I think it also helps me to maybe put the hat on of a player or of a creator, and better understand what's involved when you create music, right? Or getting the music out, because that's a lot of hard work as well.
Well, you know, and I think we've got to bring this up, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I think that the audience would like to hear about the deal that you have struck with your wife on your acquisition of instruments, because some of us, myself included, maybe have guitar acquisition syndrome.
Yes.
And you've struck a deal with your wife so that you can still buy guitars.
That's correct. So I've been collecting guitars for a while, and you know, the house doesn't necessarily get bigger, but these cases take up space, and so space becomes more of a premium. So, and my wife, Kathleen, she would say, you know, why do you need another one? They are all the same, and of course she loves music, but she's not a guitar collector or player. So anyway, so we eventually struck a deal. She has a big family that's spread all over the world. I have this family of guitars that I like to keep growing. And so our deal is that I spend money on guitars, she spends money on traveling to visit her family. And since we struck the deal, we have no problems at all.
That sounds like a great deal. I just think it's so great, though, with you being the president and CEO of Martin, though, still having to strike these kind of deals to keep the happy family going.
Absolutely.
But also you get to have fun with your instruments. I've got to ask you, too, Thomas, with your collection, when you are at home relaxing and writing songs and doing everything else, what is your favorite Martin to play?
I don't have a favorite Martin to play. I do like the instruments that I have to use them and to play them. But it depends a little bit on the moment when I play them, the idea that I have. So my first Martin was an MC68, flamed maple, quadruple O guitar, beautiful for picking, really great guitar. Maybe not the standard Martin sound if you're thinking about a dreadnought, very different guitar, but that's been the longest with me and my family in terms of Martin guitars, and I love it, and I sometimes play it if I want to pick and get that sound, but I also have a D28 authentic 1937 that basically replicates guitars from the golden period from the 30s and 40s from the last century. And sometimes I just feel like playing that one, or I work on a song where that sound and the feel and the vibe makes sense. Sometimes I just think about different artists and the guitars they played. I like David Gilmour from Pink Floyd,
definitely.
or Steve Howe from Yes. Steve Howe, he played a 0018. And I recently got myself a 0018 from 1958. So it's there are lots of things involved in bringing out which instrument to play at what point in time. But I love them all. So it's always a hard question when somebody asks you, what's your favorite Martin? I should probably say the next one.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's hard, too, because also, as you and I both know, as players and collectors, it's usually the most recent one you acquired. Because that's probably the one you're playing the most, but then you always go back to your familiars. And I thought it was so interesting, too. You and I were talking about the Martin lifestyle, which you and your team have cultivated more, I think, within the last 3 years than ever. But how great it makes you feel when you're going through an airport and you see somebody else with a Martin hat or shirt on, or they notice yours, and it sparks a conversation.
Yeah, or just a smile, and something is going on there. It's wonderful. I do think, we are obviously known for premium instruments, and that comes from our craftsmanship and the quality and the passion we put into this, and being able to do it with the complexity we do and the volume. But what we also do know, and I think that matters more and more, experiences are also really important. And the experiences, they don't just come from the guitars. They come from different things, right? Maybe it's accessories. Sometimes it's going into our history, tapping into our history and telling stories from long ago of artists or instruments or situations. People love that. And what we've tried to do more and more, I think, is to pay attention of what are these kind of stories, what are the things that matter, and do just more of that, right? Whether it's Chris, for example, Chris Martin, doing an evening with Chris where he tells the Martin story.
Which is great fun, and it's never the same one twice, because I've seen it multiple times. Right.
Or whether it's us offering lessons that are provided by Martin players on Martin guitars, with a partnership with TrueFire. Those are all different ways to just connect people and make it easy for them to connect more with what we want to offer and what we hope is meaningful to people.
So I know you can't give away all the secrets, although I'd like to know them. But there have been rumors that there may be another CEO model coming out in the near future.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's
you heard some rumors?
Maybe I'm just starting that rumor. But in your spare time.
Absolutely. I think we're really passionate about designing new guitars. The CEO line, again, is a series where the CEO can maybe go a little bit wild and crazy and come up with ideas. So we're going to continue to do that, and there's definitely something in the works.
Incredible, and also big things in the work for next year, which I know you can't tell us about, but certainly with all the incredible instruments rolling out this year, which I'm fortunate to have gotten my hands on a lot of those.
Yep. No, I think people that have followed us, when they look at the kinds of new products we roll out, there are different types of products. And it follows a pattern. So if somebody knows us, there will be some artist models, right? There will be some really high-end models, and then we always look at our existing portfolio and see, do we need to refresh something, or do we need to fill a space? You mentioned sustainability earlier. It's a really important topic for Martin, and it has been for a long time. But the Inception Maple is a great example where we wanted to create a new guitar that fills a different space in the sound palette.
Right.
But we also said, let's be as responsible as we can with materials and use domestic tone woods, right? And we could have easily just created a model where we use an old model and put maple on it, but we basically said no, it has to be a great guitar in its own right. So those are things that excite us, and we have a lot of activity in that area. So more to come, and lots of great new products in the pipeline, and some great collaborations with artists and others that people will hear more about.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Martin Inception game changer in acoustic guitars, just with the many innovations. But as you said, with certain woods, tone woods becoming harder to come to build with, sustainability is so important, and Martin has been at the forefront of that.
Yeah. Another good example is the OM Biosphere,
right?
That the artist Robert Goetzel contributed to with the painted top. But that's the first carbon neutral guitar in the guitar industry. And so that's something we hope there will be more of that. But to actually be able to do it, the guitar was one thing, but getting through the certification and understanding kind of what is our carbon footprint and how do we create something that's carbon neutral was just a lot of hard work and innovation involved. And so, those are the things that really excite us, and we're very passionate about doing more of it.
I'll tell you what, a historic guitar company that continues to innovate. Thomas, I want to make sure, too, for our viewers, that if they want to check out all of the new things rolling out with Martin Guitars, including eventually the new CEO model, what website should they go to keep up with all things Martin?
Well, martinguitar.com is our website. The other thing I would also say, we do factory tours and museums tours. We have a Martin store on in our headquarters in Nazareth, Sycamore Street. And I think people that visit us and see how these guitars are crafted live, and then they go to our museum and they literally see instruments from the entire Martin history. It's an amazing experience. So every month we do hundreds of tours, literally.
Right.
It's very easy. You sign up, and you don't need to have a big group or anything. And we do it every day. And it's an important part of us telling the story. So I would definitely invite viewers to visit if you can.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to be going, so you might see me there as well, and I just want to kind of get locked in there overnight so I can just play everything. But Thomas Ripsam, Martin Guitars, President and CEO, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Eric,
and thank you for doing such a great job with this company.
The Rocket Review is sponsored by Why Not Saloon.